The wrench slipped from Marcus Bellwether's grease-stained hand and clattered against the concrete floor at exactly 4:47 in the afternoon, the same moment his phone buzzed with a message from his daughter's school asking why her lunch account was $23 overdue, and he had no idea that in 12 hours, everything about his life would change forever. Marcus was 41 years old, a single father raising his 8-year-old daughter Ophelia alone since her mother had walked out 3 years earlier. He worked as head mechanic at a modest garage on the edge of town, the kind of place with a flickering neon sign and a coffee machine that hadn't worked properly since spring. That afternoon, a sleek black Bentley had rolled into his bay, driven by a woman named Vivian Ashcroft, the newly appointed CEO of Ashcroft Industries, a logistics empire her father had built from nothing over 4 decades. Her car had broken down 2 miles from the garage, and she'd had it towed in, furious and impatient. If you believe in kindness and second chances, hit that like button right now, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and subscribe to Real Dad's Story so you never miss another tale like this one, because what happens next will restore your faith in humanity. Marcus worked for nearly 3 hours on that Bentley, diagnosing a faulty fuel pump and a tangled mess of wiring that most mechanics would have refused to touch without ordering new parts and waiting a week. But Marcus didn't have the luxury of turning away work. He needed every dollar, because Ophelia needed new shoes, her school fees were due, and the electric bill sat unopened on his kitchen counter, a small monument to his anxiety. When he finally finished, wiping his hands on a rag that had seen better decades, he presented Vivian with a bill for $1,212, a number he'd calculated carefully, fairly, accounting for parts and hours and nothing more. Vivian looked at the invoice, then looked at Marcus, and something cold flickered behind her eyes. She told him the amount was absurd, that she'd been quoted less elsewhere, that she wasn't paying highway robbery for what should have been a simple repair. Marcus, exhausted and running on the fumes of a man who hadn't taken a real day off in months, tried to explain the labor involved, the specialty part he'd sourced from another town, the hours he'd sacrificed. Vivian wasn't listening. She was already dialing someone on her phone, speaking in the clipped tone of a woman used to getting her way, and within minutes she'd simply walked out, leaving her assistant to toss a business card on the counter and mutter that Ashcroft Industries would review the charge and be in touch. Marcus stood in the empty garage as the sun dipped low outside, holding an unpaid invoice and the quiet, familiar ache of being dismissed by someone who had never once had to worry about where dinner was coming from. That night, Marcus picked Ophelia up from his neighbor's house, where she'd been waiting since the school bus dropped her off. She was sitting cross-legged on the porch steps, her backpack beside her, drawing pictures of horses in a notebook with a pencil worn down to a nub. She looked up when she saw him and smiled the way only a child who trusts her father completely can smile, and Marcus felt his chest tighten with a mixture of love and quiet desperation. He didn't tell her about the unpaid bill. He didn't tell her that he'd have to dip into the small emergency fund he'd been building for 2 years, the one meant for real emergencies, just to cover the parts he'd already paid for out of pocket. Instead, he made her boxed macaroni for dinner, listened to her talk about a spelling test she was nervous about, and tucked her into bed with a story about a knight who never gave up, even when the kingdom didn't believe in him. What Marcus didn't know was that Vivian Ashcroft's father, Reginald Ashcroft, had been sitting in his study that same evening reviewing the day's expense reports, a habit he'd never broken even after handing the company's daily operations to his daughter 2 years prior. Reginald was 73, a man who had started his empire by loading crates onto trucks with his own 2 hands before he'd ever worn a suit that cost more than a used car. When he saw the flag transaction, a disputed $1,212 mechanic's bill from a small independent garage, something in him went very still. He asked his assistant to pull the security footage from the garage's front camera, footage Vivian hadn't realized existed, and what he saw made him set down his glass of scotch and sit in silence for a long moment. He watched Marcus working alone late into the evening, watched him call another shop to source a part at his own expense when the initial one arrived damaged, watched him decline his own dinner break because the job needed finishing before closing. He watched his daughter argue, dismiss, and walk away without so much as a thank you. Reginald had built his entire company on a simple philosophy his own father had taught him decades earlier, that a business which forgets the value of an honest day's labor deserves to lose everything it has built. He thought of his own early years, sleeping in the cab of a delivery truck to save money, and he thought of the man on the screen who reminded him so much of who he used to be. Reginald didn't sleep much that night. Around midnight, he drove himself to the address listed on Marcus's invoice, a modest rental house with a porch light left on and a child's bicycle leaning against the railing. He didn't knock. He sat in his car for nearly an hour, thinking, remembering, calculating something far larger than an unpaid bill. By the time the sun began rising the next morning, Reginald had made a decision that would change two lives forever. At exactly 6:30 the next morning, Marcus opened his front door to find an elderly man in a tailored coat standing on his porch, holding a leather folder against his chest. Marcus, startled and still in yesterday's fatigue, assumed it was some kind of collection agent or lawyer sent by Ashcroft Industries to intimidate him out of the debt entirely. Instead, Reginald introduced himself, apologized on behalf of his daughter, and asked if he could come inside for a few minutes. Marcus, wary but too tired to argue, let him in, glancing nervously toward Ophelia's bedroom door to make sure she was still asleep. Reginald sat at Marcus's small kitchen table, the same table where father and daughter shared macaroni and spelling tests, and he spoke plainly. He told Marcus he'd seen the footage. He told him he knew exactly how many hours he'd worked, how much of his own money he'd spent to finish the job right, and how he'd been treated in return. He told him that his company had been built on the backs of people like him, people who showed up, who worked honestly, who never cut corners even when no one was watching. And then he opened the leather folder and placed a check on the table, a check for $12 million. Marcus stared at it for a long time, certain he was misreading the number, certain this was some elaborate mistake or cruel joke. Reginald explained that it wasn't merely payment for a bill, and it wasn't charity either. He was offering Marcus a full partnership stake in a new division of Ashcroft Industries, one focused on fair-wage vehicle maintenance and logistic support for independent mechanics across the region, people just like him who had been underpaid and overlooked for years. He wanted Marcus to help build something that would never again let an honest man walk away with an unpaid invoice and a heavy heart. He said his daughter would learn, in time, what true leadership looked like, but that didn't mean the world should wait for her lesson. If this story is touching your heart right now, please don't scroll past without letting me know, drop a comment, hit share, and subscribe, because stories like Marcus and Ophelia's deserve to reach every corner of the world. Marcus sat in stunned silence, tears gathering in his eyes, not because of the number on the check, though it was more money than he'd ever imagined seeing in his lifetime, but because for the first time in 3 long years, someone had truly seen him. Someone had recognized the quiet, exhausting sacrifice of raising a child alone, of never complaining, of showing up every single day even when the world gave him every reason to stop trying. Ophelia wandered into the kitchen moments later, rubbing sleep from her eyes, and asked her father why he was crying. Marcus pulled her into his lap, held her close, and told her that sometimes, if you just keep doing the right thing long enough, the world finds a way to notice. Before we go, if you're reading this on YouTube, please type Amen or Blessed in the comments below for Marcus and Ophelia, and let's fill this page with love for every hardworking parent out there who feels invisible. Marcus Bellwether went on to build that new division into one of the most respected fair labor initiatives in the country, and he never once forgot the mechanic he used to be, keeping his old wrench displayed on his office desk as a reminder of where he came from, and every evening, no matter how important the meeting or how late the hour, he still came home in time to hear about Ophelia's day, because some things, he'd learned, were worth more than any check could ever buy.